Good afternoon, everyone. I am Khushwanti, student of MBA Business Analytics at Guru Janmeshwar University, Hisar of Haryana School of Business. Today, I am here to present my presentation on the topic of revenue analysis. So, let's begin. Firstly, revenue analysis. What is revenue? Revenue is the total amount of money that a firm receives from selling its goods or services. Revenue basically means when a firm or a company get some profit, what we left in our pockets or in our bank account, that means this is called the revenue. For example, you produce and sell 1,000 ice cream slabs daily and earn rupees 1,000. This amount is called revenue. Here is the economist which express the definition of revenue. Here, this is the definition. The revenue of a firm is its sale, receipts or money received from the sale of a product. Basically, what it explains that revenue is the total amount of money. It means income of that company earns from selling its products to customers, and this is a primary source of income. Next one is concepts of revenue. Basically, let's start with the marginal revenue, which can be written as MR in the short form. It can be negative or zero. So, firstly, marginal revenue is changes in price and quantity sold. And zero MR tells that TR means total revenue does not change despite selling one more unit, and negative MR means decrease the total amount. When we make a curve in this, zero means it's a linear, and in the negative MR, the curve goes downwards. This is the basic difference between zero MR and negative MR. To explanation with the help of data visualization. Next one is total revenue TR and its behavior. Total revenue. It can be written as TR in the short form is at its maximum when MR is 0. As I told that MR is marginal revenue and TR is total revenue, here it means that MR is 0 when TR is maximum. This is a major focus point when we have to understand the total revenue. Price decrease to sell more units will not increase total revenue. MR becomes negative and declining TR. For example, if a company sells 100 ice cream slabs at rupees 50 each, the total revenue is calculated as TR equal to 100 multiplied by 50. That means which is equal to rupees 5,000. And according to economist, that he says total revenue is the sum of all sales receipts or income of a firm. What this definition explains, TR is aggregate income from all sales. Basically, there are three types: marginal, total revenue, and absolute revenue. Everything is totally based on it, that which one affect another one and which has relationship with each other. So basically, we understand about the marginal revenue, we understand about the total revenue, and next slide is totally about the marginal revenue with proper definition. Basically, definition says marginal revenue is defined as the change in total revenue resulting from the sale of one more or one less units of a commodity. Formula is to calculate the marginal revenue is MR equal to TR divided by Q. Here Q is the quantity and TR is the total revenue. When we have to calculate, then just we have to set the total revenue and the quantity, then when we divided it, then we get the MR. For example, consider a film where the total revenue is rupees 1000 when 10 units are sold and rupees 1100 when 11 units are sold. The marginal revenue MR for the 11th unit can be calculated as, so as we can see in this example, total revenue is 1000 when 11 units are sold, and when rupees 1100 then 11 units are sold. But we have to calculate it on the 11th unit. So what we have to do, MR is equal to, just we have to put the values in the formula and we get the easily marginal revenue, like 1100 subtracted by 1000 divided by 11 minus 10, then what we will get, 1001, and when we convert into rupees, that means is equal to 100. So what we get, but it shows that additional units sold generates rupees 100 in extra revenue. Next one is average revenue. Basically, average revenue defines about the revenue earned per unit of output sold. Basically, this is the price of the product. As marginal revenue calculated as TR divided by Q. Here, same as it is, we have to put the formula, and instead of MR, just we have to take AR. The formula is same. If a frame total revenue is rupees, just we have to take an example, like we can see that TR is rupees 1000 and this selling is 100 units. So what we have to do, average revenue can be calculated as AR is equal to 1000 divided by 100 equal to rupees 10. What AR shows to us, that average price at which each unit is sold. Next one, just a practical example to understand of perfect competition. In perfect competition, a firm is considered a price taker. Basically, there is a difference between demand and price. When price is increased, then demand decrease, and when price decrease, then demand increase. This is a basically we have to just understand about the market and what consumer needs, desires, and wants. Overall supply and demand in the market can be only depend on the consumers, and perfect competition is totally depend on it. And it produces homogeneous products, and there is no barriers of entry or exit. And main one point is, in this, price is inversely proportional to demand. This perfect competition says. Next one is, like you can see here is a table like quantity, price, average revenue, total revenue, and marginal revenue. Here you can see that this one is like average revenue is same, like rupees 10, and in this total revenue like rupees 10, rupees 20, you can see difference like 10, 10, 10 difference. So what it explains that average revenue and marginal revenue is same, but total revenue is not same. So here Q is the quantity which expresses number of units sold. Average revenue is constant in perfect competition and same within marginal revenue. But to calculate to total revenue, because their quantities are different, then just we have to do is TR equal to AR multiplied by Q. Here AR is average revenue and Q is the quantity. So just we have to put the values like 10. You can see here 10 and multiply by 5, because we have 5 quantities and there is a difference between this rupees 10. So what we have to do, 10 multiplied by 5 and we have to get the result is rupees 50. This is table that shows the perfect competition. Next one is relationship between AR and MR. Explanation says that the relationship between average revenue and marginal revenue is crucial because when AR is the revenue per unit of output sold and MR is the additional revenue earned from selling one more unit of output. You can see the relationship between the concepts interconnected, that how they depending on the market structure and the market behavior, price strategy. So what it explains the cost, liabilities, and with the help of balance sheets and the demand and the short-term and long-term goals can be defined in this easily. Here is another table which I want to tell that here I take output, price, total revenue and marginal revenue. Here you can see in this table like 10, 9.5, 9, 8.5. You can see that price is changes, then TR is also changes and marginal revenue is also changes. Here you can see AR and MR decline faster. And in the monopoly or monopolistic competition, MR declines faster than AR. Basically, monopoly depend on the individual and oligopoly defined about a group. This is a monopoly and oligopoly. Impact of TR is when TR increase, then MR is decline. And when MR zero or negative effects, then TR also decline. So basically what is this, that a unit, a quantity can changes another quantity. Basically this aspect we can see in this table easily. Next one is I want to explain a curve like part A and part B. This one is the part A and this one is the part B. You can see this curve is start from the beginning point O or 0, and this one is the x-axis and this one is the y-axis. We have to take on the x-axis is the output and y-axis is the revenue. So basically you can see that this curve rises from this point to, and then this point shows the peak point and then it shows declining. This declining is called TR, total revenue, when TB is maximum. Basically, what we can see in this, that total revenue curve explains that initially increase at an increasing rate and peak of the TR like point B. Point B expresses here where MR equals to 0. And when it's declining, here you can see this point, then MR becomes negative, which shows revenue loss with additional units. In the part B, this one, you can see there is a point like from peak and the line goes to downward direction with a linear line. So this point were made on the x-axis. This one is a 0 point where MR equal to 0 and AR curves also representing the downward sloping line. You can see here like dotted lines. So what is explained this curve, that total revenue curve and marginal revenue and average revenue can change with each other. Next one is MR can be 0 or negative. Average revenue or price, output, total revenue and marginal revenue. Here you can see we have a table like rupees 100, 80, 40 and 30. What we have to see that total revenue is basically a few little terms cause 160 and 160 on the output second term and third column is the totally same. What we have to change there, you can see a 0. What it expresses, that MR can be negative or 0. These can be tell about the monopoly and monopolistic competition, and when TR stops when MR is 0. You can see that this value is 60. Here is total revenue is 160. You can see here like average revenue is changes like 100, 80, 40 and 30. Output like 1, 2, 4 and 5. And in the total revenue 100, 160, 160 and 150. Here just we have to see a major difference that in this there is no difference between second one and third one. There are 160 and 160. And in the marginal revenue, you can see when this marginal revenue is 0, then there is no changes in the total revenue. Total revenue is as it is. Like with the output, when the output is 2, then total revenue is 160. And when the output is 4, then total revenue is as it is, same to same, is 160. And when MR is negative, you can see negative 10 minus 10. So total revenue is 150. And just when we have to calculate this, just we can see like how marginal affect the total revenue and the average revenue. Basically, this table I just take to understand about the MR can be negative and 0. So, you can see when marginal revenue is 0, total revenue is same, and TR stops or declines when MR is negative. Here you can see when output is 5 and marginal revenue is minus 10, then the total revenue is 150. Just we have to see that TR is increasing and MR is declining. So basically this identify about the monopolistic and monopoly. Here there is a term monopoly. Monopoly is basically used for the individuals and another term is oligopoly. So that means a group to understand about the market and the individual of the products. Here is another table which explains about the AR decline, MR decline, relationship between average revenue and marginal revenue, total revenue increasing at a diminishing rate. You can see here output is 1, 2, 3 and 4. Price of AR, we have to just to calculate AR, then we have to take is total revenue divided by quantity. And to calculate the total revenue formula is average revenue multiplied by quantity. And as it is same marginal revenue is calculated as TRN minus 1. Here N or N minus 1 is totally based on the odd terms and the negative even terms. And these terms can be calculated in only in the term rupees. If we have the calculation of rupees, then we have to just take the same. But we have paise, so we have to convert it into the rupees. Like 1 rupee is equal to 100 paise. So what is expressed that AR decline from 1 to 4 unit, you can see that 10, 9.5, 9, 8.5. You can see this is shows the monopolistic competition when more units are sold at a lower prices, and MR decline from the rupees 10 to rupees 7. You can see 1 unit is declining like 10, 9, 8, 7. This is decreasing, and but the major difference is total revenue is increasing. Rupees 10, rupees 19, rupees 27 and rupees 34. But this table shows about the monopolistic competition, AR and MR decline, then total revenue increasing. In this table you can see that MR can be negative or zero, like in the first table we just discussed about this, and TR stops increasing when MR is equal to zero. TR declines when MR is negative, TR increases at the diminishing rate. Just what we have to see, that when total revenue is 100, then marginal revenue is 100, and same with average revenue. What is the difference in these, like 160 and 160, when marginal revenue is 0 and this term minus 10, this one is in the negative. When marginal revenue is 0 or negative term, then it affects total revenue. Average revenue always declines when marginal revenue declines. There is a basic relationship between marginal revenue and average revenue, and in the total revenue, just we have to see that marginal revenue, how affect the total revenue. To understand the market supply and the products and analyzes the consumers, then we take the output, total money, submissions and everything. We have to see that when marginal, in this table, this main point is when marginal revenue is 0, then total revenue is totally same. And when marginal revenue is in the negative, then total revenue declines or creates some difference. This table shows about the marginal revenue and the total revenue. Next one, let's summarize the revenue relationships. Basically, we understand about the total, average and marginal revenue and how changes in average revenue impact marginal revenue, especially in monopolies or monopolistic competition where AR declines with increased output. Just let's understand. Total revenue is sum of revenue from all units sold. Average revenue is revenue per unit, and marginal revenue is change in total revenue from selling one additional unit. Just when we add some quantity and changes in the total revenue, this is called the marginal revenue. So basically, we discussed about the graphs and the tables, how this affect the terms and the quantities. So basically, this is a summarize of the revenue relationship. Now just we have to understand about the total revenue, average revenue and the marginal revenue. Let's see. Average revenue and marginal revenue derived from total revenue. Here you can see we have commodity 1 to 5. Total revenue is increasing and marginal revenue decreasing, and average revenue and marginal revenue both are decreasing, but we have to see the total revenue is increasing. So when we just make a graph or a curve, then total revenue goes in the upward directions and negative and marginal revenue goes in the downward direction. When we have to take some with the help of flowcharts or curves or graphs, but in the table just we have to calculate the, for example, like selling one unit at rupees 10 generates total revenue of rupees 10, and the average revenue calculated by total revenue divided by quantity. Same, just we discussed about the past slides. As it is same, this table expresses about the average revenue and marginal revenue. When they both are declining, then total revenue increasing. There is no impact on the total revenue. This term is same as it is to as it is, but the major difference is MR declining and marginal revenue declining. In this table, there is another table which expresses about the average and marginal revenue parallel to x-axis. You can see the horizontal line is the x-axis and the vertical line is y-axis. And perfect competition is price and the demand relationships. So basically what this table expresses, that when AR and MR are constants, you can see the quantities are same, is rupees 5, and so on. And same with the marginal revenue. What is the changes in the total revenue is the rupees is increasing. In the market, just in the perfect competition, firms are price takers and can sell any quantity at a market price. Total revenue is increasing and the difference between like 5 and 10 in the first and second row, we have to see that 10 minus 5 is rupees 5, 10 minus 15 is rupees 5. But we see the difference is same but the price is increasing. Average revenue is same and marginal revenue is same. This relationship we show in the perfect competition. In this you can see a graph like this y is the revenue and x is the output and this is the origin 0 0. You can see TR is increasing but it shows that each additional unit sold adds more to the total revenue. This is the curve of total revenue. And this is the curve of average revenue and marginal revenue. You can see this is a linear. In the total revenue, the curve is increasing in the linear state and this one is only totally constant. There is no upward direction and no downward direction. This one is a constant. And basically when we take some revenue, when we have to make the curves, then we have to just understand about that x-axis concludes output and y-axis takes revenue. So this curve shows about the relationships between average revenue and the marginal revenue. Here one point I want to explain that a firm need to lower prices to sell more units. This is called the non-competition market. This curve, you can see straight line AR and MR curves. What it shows, you can see this is a point P and the line is decreasing and with same with as it is with the average revenue. But major difference is average revenue is slightly decreasing faster than the AR. They both are decreasing at a constant rate as quantity increasing. So what it shows represents about the price at which each unit is sold, while the MR curve shows the additional revenue from selling one more unit. There is a particular scenario between the marginal revenue and the average revenue, which indicates the difference between the AB and the distance BC. You can see this is the A point, this is the B point and this is the P point. You can see the difference between AB and the BC. So this curve shows about the price of each unit sold with the help of average revenue and the marginal revenue. Net curve. You can see these lines something like interesting way and the average revenue and marginal revenue line is decreasing and this one is the rectangular box. So what we here understands about the total revenue, average revenue, marginal revenue relationship. TR is represented by point O, point Q, P and A. To calculate this, just we have to take the formula we discussed in the past slides like total revenue is equal to average revenue multiplication of Q. Here this area is equal to the summation of marginal revenue which can be represented by summation. This sign is called the summation, means sum of marginal revenue. Convex AR and MR curves. You can see like in the past slides we just see that line declines or increase. there is no curve of upward and downward direction. Here just we have to take that AR and MR curves that are convex to the point of origin, and MR curve intersects at the origin line. You can see there is no origin line. This point, this shows about the declining rate of marginal revenue and average revenue, and this is the distance between A and B and C point. So MR is declining faster. This reflects about selling more units as price is decreasing. Next one is the summary of relationship what we discussed in these slides. So when AR and MR are straight lines, MR is consistently means which is continuously running lower than AR and both decreasing at the same rate, and convex AR and MR what explains about that when average revenue and marginal revenue are convex, then marginal revenue declines more rapidly than average revenue. Basically, MR means the declining rate shows about the total revenue increases and reflects about the diminishing returns from the additional sales. In this curve, you can see like this point. This is just similar, but main difference is like in the past slide we just discussed same this graph, but major difference is the distance A point to B point and B point to C point. In the past curve, you can see this line is moving from to this part, and AR is goes to this point to this point. But in this curve, you can see marginal revenue and average revenue like AB is greater than BC indicates about the marginal revenue curve intersects the perpendicular line at a point, and this is the midpoint A. You can see this is a line and this is a midpoint, like here is the 50%, this is the 50%, and this is the midpoint. So what this figure shows about the average revenue and the marginal revenue curves, both of which are concave to the point of origin. Next one is you can see that E. Here E means elasticity of demand. There are three terms when elasticity is higher than, greater than 1. Means when elasticity of demand is greater than unity, then MR is positive. E equal to 1. I just take elasticity of demand as E, which can be written as capital E. So E equal to 1 when MR equal to 0, and when E is lesser than 1, it means MR is negative. You can see the relationship between the elasticity of demand and the marginal revenue. So basically, there is a point O which shows about the negative when E is equal to 1. You can see this point make a perpendicular and Q point shows about the negative. Next one is concave AR and MR, but we see that on the point E, when this is lesser than 1, equal to 1 and greater to 1, to calculate this, just we have to take the formula E, which is elasticity of demand equal to A divided by A minus ME. You can see E is the elasticity of demand, A is average revenue, and M is marginal revenue. Basically, this shows that the faster decline of marginal revenue compared to average revenue. So, what is elasticity of demand? We discussed that how it affects the marginal revenue and average revenue, but let's understand what is elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand is the relationship between average revenue and the marginal revenue using geometric and algebraic methods. Just we have to take some triangle to understand this. And there is a formula to explain the elasticity of demand, and to calculate this elasticity, E equal to AR divided by AR multiplied by MR, or A divided by A subtracted by ME. Here AR is average revenue and MR is marginal revenue. When we have to calculate the elasticity of demand, just we have to use this formula, and then we get the solution of elasticity. This curve about the relationship between the average, marginal and elasticity of demand, you can see this line is slightly declining, and this is a rectangular form, point O, M, P and R. You can see that AR curve slopes declining and output increasing, the price decreasing. This curve basically shows, like you can see in this curve, like how this point is declining and meet a point P to M. This is line MR and this one is the average revenue. So just we have to take output on the x-axis and price on the y-axis. This geometric relationship explains to derive elasticity of demand and the connection of average and marginal revenue. In this curve you can see a line, this straight line. Basically this expresses about the average revenue is equal to marginal revenue. Like you can see point 1, point 2 and point 3. This line is slightly constant and so on. It can be a continuous relation. So, but it shows that a straight line, horizontal line parallel to OX axis at a given price level OS. This one is the O, this is the X and OX, and this one is the Y. On the OY axis we have to take revenue and OX axis output. So basically it represents about indicates about that a firm can sell any unit of its products at a constant market price. This curve, revenue curves under monopoly, as monopoly is used for the individuals. So these curves you can see MR is slightly decreasing faster than the average revenue. Revenue curves under monopoly shows these curves. Graphical representation is AR curve slopes downwards and MR curve also downward sloping lies below the AR curve. Okay, so this illustrates about the relationship between when average revenue and marginal revenue as quantity increasing. This curve, a rectangular hyperbola. In this curve, we just take revenue curves under monopoly. But in this curve, we take revenue curves under monopoly with the help of rectangular hyperbola. You can see AR is slightly declining. This point from like 0, 2 and 4. You can see this point meet in the point P, 2 meet at the point N, and this goes to the x-axis, and MR is slightly constant. You can see this line. There is no increasing and decreasing, but AR is declining from this point to this point. But it shows, this indicates about the total revenue remains constant regardless of the price. These curves same in the monopolistic competition. Just this explains about the curves under monopolistic competition indicates that when the price at which various quantities can be sold, it slopes downwards because firms have some price setting power but face more elastic demand. Like in the monopolistic competition, AR is declining and MR is also declining. But here, MR is faster than average revenue. Basically, there is a relationship between this is a major relationship. When MR is declining, then marginal revenue declining. When average revenue increasing, then marginal revenue automatically increasing. This is the average revenue and marginal revenue curves under monopolistic competition. Here, there is a term, kinky demand curve in oligopoly. In the past slides, we discussed about the monopoly, but here we understand about the oligopoly. This what it shows, kinky demand curve and marginal curve in the oligopoly. You can see there is a line which goes to the x-axis. This point to this point, this shows the MR, marginal revenue, and K to D1, this shows about the AR, average revenue. And this point K, this means kink. Here you can see demand curve has a kink at point K, this point. What is basically this curve shows about the more elastic and the other films do not follow price changes. And this KD1, you can see KD1. This KD shows about the film do not follow price changes. It can affect demand. And this K point to D1, this shows about the other films follow price changes, little effect on demand. And point P to point R. This is the point P and this is the point R, but it shows about corresponding to the kinky demand curve. So this curve is the kinky demand curve in oligopoly. Hope you understand this curve. Next one is estimate of profit and loss. Basically, when we organize something, then there is a loss and there is a profit. To overcome from the loss, just we have to calculate and estimate how we can overcome from the losses and get more profit. A firm uses a concept of revenue to calculate profit and losses. Just we have to take when average revenue is lesser than AC and loss when here AC is the average cost and AR is the average revenue. In this you can see there are 4 points: supernormal profit, loss, normal profit, short period equilibrium. Basically, when the term is supernormal profit, when average revenue is greater than average cost. And when average cost is greater than average revenue, then a firm faces loss. And when average revenue and average cost is equal to each other, then it shows normal profit. And when average revenue equal to ABC, then the firm suffers minimum losses. This is the short period equilibrium. Equilibrium means same, constant. So, you can see estimate of profit and loss and how revenue analysis take monopoly and oligopoly. So basically this presentation is totally depend on the revenue analysis. This is a major point of the microeconomics to understand everything and for a firm also. So thank you. Hope you like my presentation and this is the end of my revenue analysis.